Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Ruslan G channel. My name is Ruslan G and I'm your host, and I'm going to be diving into The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. If you haven't been on this series before, this is where I break down all of your requested books on the channel in 20 minutes or less. And in today's book, we're going to be talking about the power of habit. Let me show you the cover here. And we're going to be discussing why we do the things we do in life and in business. As you can tell from the title, it's called The Power of Habit. So it's gonna be on habits, whether it's forming habits or changing your habits, but I don't wanna spoil too much. I'm gonna let you enjoy this. This is your first time to the channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a video. And while you're down there, hit that like button because that helps out the channel and helps me create more content like this for you guys. And let's jump right into The Power of Habit. All right, so the first lesson that Charles wants you to know is one of routine, and this is what creates our habits. So routine is the cycle that our habits are formed by. The way that this works is there's always a cue, and this is something that triggers you to do a certain behavior and thus leading to a certain type of reward. Now, in this example, I want to talk about a specific routine that's not good for you. So the one I'm going to be talking about is smoking cigarettes. So one of the best ways to change a habit such as smoking cigarettes is to change the behavior, the very middle part. So you have the cue. Let's say your cue is stress, right? You're stressed at work, you've been working really, really hard, and all of a sudden you want to go outside and take a smoke break. And this is a common example of people that have a lot of stress in their life, and this is why they resort to cigarettes. So they go out, they smoke a cigarette, which is the behavior, right? The middle part. And then that leads to a reward, right? A feeling of satisfaction. Oh, I don't feel so stressed anymore, right? Oh, that felt good. So we can't really change the cue. What we want to do is we want to change that behavior. So the way that it works is we take the cue, we take the behavior, and we take the reward, right? So stress, cigarettes, stimuli, right? And that's pretty much the basis of all habits, right? Whether good or bad. So this bad habit, we want to break that bad habit. So what we could do, let's say we wanted to replace it with coffee. What we would do is we would take the cue, right? Now I'm feeling stressed and I want some sort of reward, the stimuli. And I'm gonna change the behavior by, instead of going outside and smoking a cigarette, by walking to that coffee shop next door and maybe getting myself a cup of joe. And that is the very first step to changing that ridiculous habit of smoking cigarettes, by changing the behavior. And that's the very first lesson that Charles wants you to know. Lesson number 2, and that is that habits actually compound. So like many things in life, when you do something good, good things come to you. And when you do something bad, bad things tend to happen as well. And that's what Charles refers to as something called habit compounding. So if you habitually practice creating more and more good habits in your life, you will actually be rewarded with more and more rewards, which leads you to create better habits. And that is why it's called a cycle, a habit cycle, right? So the same applies to bad habits. And that's what we notice when people go off the deep end, right? When they go off the rails, that is when they start to create more and more bad habits that we don't want. Cigarettes then leads to drinking, then leads to marital problems, right? All those things can be avoided is if we just start to focus on replacing the bad habits with good habits. And then what we create is what's called habit compounding. And that's what's gonna lead to drastic change in your life in a positive way. So let's dive onto lesson number 3. And so lesson number 3 is something that we all want to do every single day, and that is to be at our best, to perform at 110%, right? We hear that all the time, but how do you do that? Well, little do you know that the top performers in any industry actually form habits and have routines. So routines, the cue, the behavior, and the reward. So if you can create something with all 3 of those, you are actually on your way to becoming a top performer in whatever that you are trying to achieve. So lesson number 4 is if we want to create willpower, right? That's the determination that makes us all get out of bed every single morning and do the things that we want to do. In order to have that, we must then build positive habits. And those positive habits are what create willpower. And positive habit stacking is what leads to more self-discipline. So it's an ongoing, never-ending cycle of positive habit building. And lesson number 5, and this is the last lesson, but I got one more special thing for you, so stay tuned. More people that are successful have more self-discipline, and that is actually the determining factor for that success versus having higher IQ, which is remarkable when you think about it. So that means just having the determination and these habits and a specific routine is actually the determining factor for success versus being smart. So when they say work smarter, not harder, actually it's the other way around. And that's what Charles wants you to know. But wait, I got one more thing for you, and that is a couple actionable steps that you can follow to get started on making a better and brighter future for you. Remember, this channel is all about health, wealth, and happiness. So I want you to be healthy, wealthy, and happy after this. So hopefully you learned something. If you did, hit that like button, and let's dive into the actionable steps, and then I'm gonna let you go. So the very first step is to create consistency in your life. Again, habits aren't gonna form themselves, and we actually have formed habits as we grew up. So one of the very first habits is your morning routine. That should be evaluated, and if you find any inconsistencies, right, things that you forget to do or you do too much of or too little of, like for example, if you don't brush your teeth enough, that is gonna be a problem, right? People are gonna smell your breath, that's gonna create problems, maybe in the workplace, maybe with your relationships, you might not get as many smooches. So if that's the case, that is a habit that you need to fix, and analyzing your routines and creating consistency is what's going to fix that. So that's an actionable step that you should start today. Next up is to have a journal. Now, I personally love the Epic Freedom Journal that I have back here. If you haven't checked it out before, there's a link in the bio down below. You can get it on Amazon. Essentially, what this allows you to do is to create an environment of gratitude and goal setting and accomplishments and rewards. So this is exactly what Charles talks about in The Power of Habit, and this is exactly why I built this journal. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and without further ado, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.